Hey agents, this is Angie Lauer.
And this is Jake Burkett.
And we are here to talk to you today about you got a lead or even your grandma or whoever on the phone and they are going to give you that listing appointment. You're going to get to go to the house. Now what? So the first step that you're going to take is you are going to get their address, obviously, and then you are going to stick it into the MLS, into the tax record portion of the MLS, so that you can get all the goods on the house, you know, square footage, number of bedrooms, number of garage bays, lot square footage, all that good stuff. Next thing you're gonna do is run your comps. If you don't know how to run comps, we'll do a separate video of how to run the comps for you. Next thing you are going to do is take those comparables and then compare it with the RPR that you can find on the MLS. We'll show you a short little clip of where to get that. Some of us print them out and take them with us on the listing appointment. Some of us don't. A couple different ways that you can compare and get as close to that perfect price as possible.
All right, now that you've done all the homework that Angie just talked about, what do you do next? Now you need to prepare your listing presentation. So you need to compile all that data. You need to know the data. If it's your first one or your first couple of listing presentations where you kind of already don't have it down in your head, like what you're gonna do, like script it out. Know what you're gonna say. Like have a couple key points that are just your reminders, like this is what I'm gonna say, this is how I'm gonna approach it. If it changes when you're there in person, that's fine, just roll with it. But you need to know what your information is. You should know the neighborhood, the comps that have sold, have a great idea in your head. Hopefully you can remember them all. Also have them on a sheet you can talk about. Know the price per square foot in the neighborhood. Know what the homes that need renovation. Know the homes that are, you can move into them, but they need updating, and know what a house that is completely renovated turnkey is going for. Because once you get to that house and actually see it, then you're gonna know what category it falls into, like low, medium, high, or like off the charts high, because it's an amazing house. So it's very important you're competent and are very aware of all the details. So own your information, because you are in fact selling yourself and your information to those people.
Okay, so as the professional, we are now arriving at our seller's house. So just as Jake just said previously, I like to go in and I have a formula now of what I do when I get there. First thing I do, introduce myself. Wonderful, your home is beautiful. Take me for a walk around the home is the first thing that I ask the sellers to do. And I usually have either my iPad or my phone with me so that I can take notes of the features, because as agents, we don't usually input the MLS listing. Our wonderful transaction managers do that for us, but I always like to write my own public remarks. So I take note of what kind of floors there are there plantation shutters? Do we have a landscape backyard? Do we have mature trees? Do we have beautiful cabinets? Sometimes we don't. So we have to look at the features of what's going to sell the property based just on our remarks. The next thing that I do after I've toured the home, I will say to the sellers, because I usually have talked to them a little bit, I'll say, well, why don't we sit down and talk about what you really want to know about, which is how much money you're going to make off this sale. So we go to sit somewhere, and I have a number in my head already based on my comps and after walking around the house. So I will say, based on what we're looking at, and I'll usually pull out my iPad, or if you don't have an iPad, you can pull it up on your phone, just so they can see the house that you're basing your comps on. I like them to see that. And what I'll say is I'll look at them and I'll say, what do you think this house, you know, how does this house stack up against yours? Where do you see your value coming in? You know, because ultimately, I always say this, ultimately you are in the driver's seat. I think we should list between, say, 480 and 500. How do you feel? And then I let them answer. Once they've answered, I'll usually go with their price, and I could say that could be a little bit high, but we can start there. We can start wherever you like. I always let them know they are the driver, not me, but I can give them my professional opinion. So at that point, we're gonna do what's called a net sheet. Jake, what is on that net sheet?
So net sheet is very, very important. We've seen a lot of listing agents, new agents kind of get in trouble down the road in the transaction, because when the sellers start getting their closing disclosures and they see what all the fees are and where they're going to, they're like, wait, nobody told me that, or I didn't realize it was going to be that much. You may have verbally told them, but verbally really doesn't mean anything, and ultimately you want your clients to be happy, and everything you've told them you want to be essentially what comes true at the end, because you are a transparent, you're honest, you're ethical. So a net sheet, use an app. We use Chicago Title app, right? What we do is we go down there, and I usually do it right in front of them, or I already have it prepared on my phone and I can show them everything on it. So it's gonna ask you, seller, you're selling a house, sale price of the house. It's gonna ask you what the compensation is, the co-op, of course. You're gonna, whatever your agreement is with that person, 6% is standard across the board. So if it's 6%, you need to have that in there. You're gonna add in any additional fees like a broker compensation form fee. You're gonna add that into there. You can add in some repairs, maybe put $1,000 in repairs. And then of course, if you know what their loan balance is, ask them what they owe on the house, put that all in there, compute it, you have it right there. You can text it to them right off the app. You can email it to them right off the app, show it to them, talk about it, discuss it, tell them you've emailed to them, look at it, let me know if you have any questions. And by that email and texting of it, now you have a paper trail. You have sent it to them. So if later they're like, wait, what about this? Like, we talked about that 35 days ago. Like, and you can reference your own email, send it back to them, whatever it may be. But you have covered your tracks, and any opposition that comes up to anything or any fees, like you've actually already talked about. And you should be able to move forward very confidently, knowing that you've covered all the dollar figures, because that's what really matters to your sellers, is how much money are they going to get at the end of the day. So you need to explain all that thoroughly. So.
Another point I would say, Jake, is that as your production coaches here at The Real Broker, we are always happy to go over that net sheet with you. Don't just do one net sheet and think you got it that one time. Come in and talk to one of the coaches, because we could definitely help you. It takes 2 seconds to make sure that you got it right. It's a pretty easy app to operate, but if you mess it up and leave off one fee, like Jake said before, your seller could be upset. Something like an HOA resale package fee or some transfer fee, you've got to make sure that everything is on there. So I would say on your first time running through, if you've never done it before, just take 5 minutes. You can even do it over the phone with one of us. We're happy to help with that. And then at that point, your seller will say to you, we have a deal, I'm happy to list. Then you will say, next I'm going to have my transaction coordinator, either Lisa or Tanya or Adita, send you the information. You'll get a listing packet, you'll review everything. They will call you to review that, go over everything with you. Once you have that signed, pictures are set up, and you got yourself a listing.
Just tell them everything that happens next. The more information you can front load on them, the more at ease they feel, and that's ultimately what it is. Put them at ease. Tell them we're gonna do everything for you. You're never gonna have to guess on what happens next. We're gonna tell you everything that happens next, and we're gonna walk you through each and every step of it. Put them at ease, make them be happy. They're gonna have a great idea of what it's gonna sell for, because you've already done all of your homework and presented to them.